Come satisfy your appetite for wealth with baking profits. Now, here's your hosts, Mike and Brad.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another week of Baking Profits. We're your hosts, Mike, aka DeFiDoughnut.
And I'm Brad, aka TheBreadmaker.
And today we're going to talk about 5 reasons you're not going to make it in crypto. And then we're going to wrap up with when you should cut your bot strategies. Now, if you'd like to, you can follow the crumbs on our socials at Baking Profits, at TheBreadmaker, at Bread Bites, at DeFiDoughnut.
And be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And today we're drinking I.W. Harper. Their slogan, anywhere, anytime, it's always a pleasure. It's pretty strong.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like it.
You don't like it?
It's okay. It's not, out of the, 3, 4, 5 different whiskeys we've had, this ranks pretty close to the bottom, for me at least.
It's probably a good thing they're not a sponsor of this podcast. They probably wouldn't like this.
They wouldn't want us saying that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
All right, so 5 reasons you're not going to make it. We came up with a list of, things that we've noticed in the crypto scene since we've been, trading and since we've been really just interacting with everybody. And we found some common similarities across all the people who, don't make it. And, let me just quickly break those down, and then we're going to explore more into that. So the 5 reasons are patience, the lack thereof, discipline, also lack thereof, that herd mentality, the expectations from those traders, and then the focus on the neat ideas and not the team behind those ideas. And then, as we kind of think about that, like all of these describe, those worst case scenarios for those traders, especially when we think about patience. So when I say patience, I'm really thinking of the people who want all the money right now, that get rich quick mentality. They want to, buy into a coin like Pepe or, Doge, Sheep, whatever, and they want to make $10 million in less than 24 hours. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And this is one of the biggest problems in crypto, in my opinion, is I think that just because of, I think a lot of it comes to the volatility of crypto. I think it breeds impatience because in the stock market, you really more than likely aren't going to make a massive amount of money in a short amount of time where you can boast about it. Like think of Pepe, for example. Like that would never happen in crypto or in the stock market. I mean, in those, when you get into like penny stock world, you can get a little bit of like some big moves, but you're not trading leverage and you're not showing these exorbitant gains. And when people see that, the patience level of, buying into something and just gradually letting it grow, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And then in my opinion, the other side of the patience piece is age. And I think the age of people is much younger, and I think the younger generations have the instant gratification mindset much more than the older generation does. So it's, all of that combined wraps itself into a situation where people just think that, I can, buy this coin in crypto and I saw this one person make 5,000%. I can do the same thing. And 95% of those people aren't able to do the same thing. And then, you get into, crypto's a scam, or they just can't make it because of lack of patience.
Yeah, definitely. I think age definitely plays a part into it. If you think about the people who are investing in the stock market, a majority of those individuals are going to be older than us. And I mean, I've been investing in the stock market at least for 20 years, and when I say that, it's like, it starts with, those 401k buys and things that are very long-term. You're not really paying attention to it. In fact, traditional trading should be very boring. It shouldn't be exciting. I think once Robinhood kind of came about and they started, allowing the average Joe to hop into these extremely volatile style of trading like options and whatnot, then that created people wanting to see those alerts, those notifications. And really all of that was driven by the smartphone, which of course provides the instant gratification in every single aspect of it, whether it's apps, in-apps, social media, whatever. People are following these traders now, and they're seeing those wins. And, in traditional finance, now we're starting to see those meme stocks, GameStop, Bed Bath and Beyond, AMC, whatever. And as that translates over to crypto, it gets even worse because the generation there is definitely, not only are they going to be younger, but they're really growing up in this world where it's okay to post these insane wins, where if you made a lot of money in the stocks, the last thing you want to do is let everybody know, right? You don't want to let people know like, hey, I got millions of dollars over here, come rob me. Whereas like in crypto, people are okay. They want to boast about it. They want those people to like them. They want to get more followers, and they just constantly are seeking, that attention. And that's definitely, for some people it's coming up as a win, but it's feeding the mindset of crypto for the average user to think, okay, I can get into a trade really quickly and I can make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this goes past just trading. It goes into all the projects that are in crypto. Obviously, in crypto, is a little bit more of like the wild, wild west in the way where you can anybody can create a project, anybody can build whatever they want to build in decentralized or whatever kind of situation you want to build it. And, people flock to it and they, put a lot of money into it, and they don't really do a lot of research or do a lot of due diligence on what the project is, what it's about or whatever. They just hear somebody said that it's going to be good or it's going to make, it's going to 10X their portfolio or whatever. And then they just ape into it. And then, next thing you know, they're getting rugged or they're holding a bag or whatever it is. And I think crypto in general needs a mindset change of understanding that like you're not going to get rich in a day. You're not going to get rich in a month. You're not going to get rich in 6 months. You're not going to get rich in a year. You need to understand that you need to, like, if you believe in crypto, then you should invest in it. And long term, you are going to come out better than the people that didn't invest into it. But if you ape in all your money on some crazy, stupid project or one specific coin because you saw the last meme coin pop off and you're like, all right, this next meme coin is going to, turn this $10,000 into $10 million. It's like, what's actually going to happen is you're about to lose $10,000. So that's at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen to you. And you're going to be of the 95% that got screwed. And you're going to see online the 5% that actually, made money, or even less than that. It might even be like 1% or sub 1%. So, there are very few lottery ticket ways to get rich in crypto quickly, but you're seeing a lot of that get posted and seeing a lot of that in your face, but the majority are not actually seeing that. They're the ones that are getting screwed while the small group is getting rich. And most of it is luck. Like those people that, bought into like Pepe or whatever and made millions, most of that is luck. And, you're not seeing the same people make $1 million on one meme coin, then make $1 million on another and $1 million on another. It's really like a lottery ticket at the end of the day. And so, same goes for the projects. I mean, there's not a ton of projects that are overly successful in the crypto space. And I think a lot of people don't give some projects that are smart and have good teams and stuff like that. They don't give those projects the time for, again, it goes back to patience. They don't give those projects the time to, flourish and understand and have that like 1 year plus mindset. And if you don't have that mindset, in my opinion, you're not going to make it. If you think you're going to be a millionaire in less than a year in crypto, you don't even invest in crypto. Like you're not gonna make it if you have a less than 1 year mindset to be a millionaire. If you have a 5 year or 7 year or 10 year plus mindset, you got a chance. But sub 1 year and you think you're gonna turn $1,000 into $1 million, just cut your losses at that point.
Absolutely. You said something though that really kind of, it's a little bit of a tangent what we're talking about, but you use the term aped in, and it kind of sparked me to think that, there's even these terms in crypto, right? Like you are catering to this degen mindset, and it's like, it kind of reminded me of the GameStop, apes strong together, the Planet of the Apes quote, but there's this whole culture to crypto, and it's if you go against that culture, you're an outsider, you're the enemy, and it is a little ridiculous, but and then as we move into the second point, it's discipline and the lack thereof. Discipline for me is all about, planning, sticking to that plan no matter what. I can say when I first became a true trader, I got super lucky, and I learned some hard lessons later, but I realized that in the beginning, because of my luck, I was able to afford to pay for those hard lessons. And I think it allowed me to see like, okay, wow, I really was lucky. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have an exit strategy. I was just like, oh, I'm going to hold this until it makes money. And it's terrible. And we see that all the time across the board. Nobody has a plan in. It's especially prominent when you ask people like, where's your exit strategy? And diamond hands. It kind of goes back to that mentality. It's like, what? So I implore people to understand, it's like, if you're going to buy into a trade, first off, if you're going to buy and hold, and you're not just like day trading, think on it. Take 24 hours, sit on it. Why are you looking at this price point over any other price point? Is it at support? Is it at resistance? What are you seeing on the chart? What are you going to do if things go sideways? Where's your stop loss? Are you actually going to take that stop? Are you going to cut the trade? Or, are you going to back out on yourself? And I think a lot of people, they get down a little bit and then they start to see, other people talk about it, and then they feel that, oh, you know what, I got FOMO, and I don't want to cut this because it's about the moon, and so people just hold on to things for way too long.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I think, one of my biggest things when it comes to the trading side of things from discipline is, I've shared this out in the past, and I, religiously abide by it. But it's basically, if I can't name three reasons on why I'm getting in this trade, don't get in a trade. So, I mean, even for those of you that are traders out there, think of it this way. Think of if you were about to enter a trade and you were telling me about the trade, if you can't list me and give me 3 reasons as to why you're going to get in that trade and why that trade is going to be profitable for you, you shouldn't get in that trade. So you should have some level of understanding on why you're getting in that trade and what your exit strategy is going to be. And if you can't say, hey, this trade is, near a support level, the momentum is, showing that it's oversold, the trend is looking bullish, and those are the 3 reasons that I'm going to go long on this trade. If you can't provide that information to me or some level of reasoning as to why you're going to execute this trade, you just shouldn't get in the trade, because more than likely you're not prepared enough or don't have the discipline enough to be able to execute that trade properly. So, I think that from a trade standpoint, I think that's important. And then I think discipline and patience kind of go hand in hand in a way when you just thinking about crypto in general and thinking about outside of trading, just thinking about the protocols that are out there that, are projects and things like that. And I see a lot of people that, we talked about it in our last episode about bot hopping, hopping from bot to bot. I see so many people hop from project to project. They don't give the project time. And if it's, it's kind of that old saying like Warren Buffett had where it was like, if you are a user in a specific company and you believe in that company and you like their products, invest in it. And more than likely, you're going to do pretty well. I know Warren Buffett, he touts all the time. He goes to McDonald's every single morning and gets like an Egg McMuffin or something like that. And a long time ago, he was like, I love McDonald's. I go here all the time. I might as well invest in it. And, that's done well for him. I mean, not every time is that going to work out, but realistically, if you're in crypto, you need to have the discipline to understand like, it's not going to always work out, but if you come in and say, hey, I really like this team, I really like what they built, and I think long-term they're going to be good, then, stick to your guns and roll with that and invest in it. And, not every time it's going to work out, but you're going to have some where, you're going to get better from an instinct standpoint of being like, okay, I thought this was really good in this one project, but it actually wasn't. So next time I see this in another project, I'm going to avoid it. And just you'll kind of like slowly grow yourself into understanding what's a good look, what's a bad look, what should I invest in, what shouldn't I invest in, and you'll really be able to grow that way quickly. And that's another way where a year or 2 years from now, you'll have all this experience from the mistakes that you made that you're going to be 1 to 2 years ahead of that new person that comes into crypto, and now you're going to be the expert expert and be like, hey, I've been through this, been down this road. These are the things to look out for. These are the things I made mistakes on. And you can kind of share your experiences with other people that maybe, new to entering the space.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't hold me to this, but I think Warren Buffett loved McDonald's so well and he loved Coca-Cola so well that he is the one who brought that partnership together.
That's correct, yeah.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
It's a lot of power there. But
yeah,
I've always thought of, at least with my trading and specifically, is like if you're gonna trade and this is gonna be, even if it's just a side hustle or if it's your main job, you have to manage yourself. You have to be your own boss. And if you think of it as a job and you're your manager and you're your employee, it's like if you think of that as two separate individuals, if you're looking at your employee and they're making mistakes, how long are you going to keep them on the job before you're like, look, you're terrible, I got to fire you and hire somebody else? So you kind of have to self-manage your performance. You have to manage yourself, and you have to have that governance that will state, hey, this is a terrible investment. You need to get out. Or when you're buying, you need to have a certain plan in place. And yeah, to your point, patience and discipline, it goes hand in hand because it's going to take a lot of patience to figure out your own discipline. But once you figure it out, it's actually pretty easy. And I mean, I know personally, I've cut so many trades. I've walked away. And when I walk away, I walk away. I don't like to look at it.
Can't do it.
I know there's been plenty of times where I've walked away at the worst part, but I know also that there's been plenty of times where I've walked away at the best possible time. So it goes hand in hand. And I mean, overall, as long as that win rate, percentage, is higher, then you're going to be okay. So you just have to be comfortable kind of, making those moves. But
yeah, making mistakes is also kind of goes along with that. You have to be comfortable and understand that you're, as a new person into crypto or even a veteran in crypto, there's always going to be mistakes, whether that is in trading. I mean, everybody's going to, that's a very, magnified level of it, is like even the greatest traders, nobody has 100% win rate. So people are going to lose. And by losing, you're going to either be able to learn from your mistakes or just understand that, hey, you did everything that you could do to execute that trade the way it needed to be executed, and it just didn't work out. But at the end of the day, same with the projects. You're going to invest in projects or protocols within the crypto space, and you're going to, feel super confident about the team and the product and what they're building and the ideas and the innovation. And, you might get burned. It may not end up working out. And you got to be able to roll with those punches and understand that, this is a little bit more of the wild, wild west where, anything can happen in a moment's notice. And so you have to be understanding of that and a little bit on the flexible side. And that kind of comes into play with the discipline, is like, you have to, understand from a discipline standpoint that you're going to lose money. There's going to be time. You're not just going to come in here and you're going to be rich and you're going to exit. Like, everybody's probably going to make a mistake on an investment or make a mistake on a trade or make some level of mistake. And you have to understand that you have to have the discipline, honestly, also to continue on and not say, crypto's a scam, I'm out, or I just lost all my money. You don't want to all in on one project or one trade or one whatever. And then next thing you know, you're like, well, now I got no more money. I can't even stay in this space anymore. And you're like a forced exit out of crypto because you made a very bad mistake. And, that goes back into diversification and, deeper into that kind of stuff, but still all ties into discipline and making sure that you as an investor in crypto are able to stay in it long term and have that longevity based off of being smart with where you're putting your money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen it so many times where, somebody has such strong feelings, Bitcoin's going to 100K, I'm going all in. And there's really no reason for it.
Just because.
Yeah. And it's just on any trade, it's just like, oh, we're at support, whatever. I'm going to, buy all in. It's like, look, you just broke all your rules. You need to make sure that you're not going all in on a trade. Like, that's idiotic. Like, don't do that to yourself. But nobody wants to listen to that. But, kind of segues into herd mentality a bit, is that the reason why people are seeing this or thinking this is because they're seeing other people hit those big wins. They're seeing other people, make these trades, and they're using that individual's logic, that individual's discipline, and they're leaning on that. Like, we don't know if this random trader on Twitter has a plan, or if they're disciplined themselves, or if they're even following somebody else.
True.
We used to have an alert service, and there were definitely times where we found other people alerting our alerts to other people who actually alerted those to more people. So it's like a whole trickle. And those middlemen, they have no idea. And there's so many people that are following those individuals. And sadly, in crypto, because it is a younger audience, mostly inexperienced, they're easy to manipulate. And it's because they're looking for that instant gratification. They're looking for that next, big bang. You can mold them in a way to suit your needs as a project. An influencer can really influence somebody in a positive or negative way super easily. And we've seen that countless times.
Yeah. Going back to our last episode about node season, that was a huge situation where it was herd mentality. There was a lot of times where, someone would buy into a node and then they'd be talking, oh, I'm printing money every single day. I'm making this amount. I remember, I don't remember who the influencer was offhand, but they maxed out like fire nodes, and they were talking about how they were printing like massive amounts of money on a daily basis. And, everybody at that point, they're FOMOing in. But again, we know, from history now that node season, those first people were the ones that made money. And then most of the people after that, got left, getting screwed. So I think, that's a really good example of herd mentality of like, a situation where, people see other people looking like they're either making money, and they may actually legitimately be making money, and sharing that out there. And then they're like, man, I got to just get into this. And, next thing you know, they tide turns, project rugs, whatever happens. And then, they're left holding a bag. And it's mainly because of, a bunch of other people talking about it consistently. I remember myself, I never got into fire, but I saw so many people, and I was just sitting there like, this is crazy. Like, I'm seeing everybody looking like they're making bank on this thing, and I'm just sitting here on the sidelines missing out. And then, ultimately, I would assume most people ended up losing money in that project, but that was a really good example of it. And then obviously on the trading side, I think it goes back to, what we had mentioned in the past as well, which was like, some of these traders are trading like $1 or $2, and then they're trading it at like 100x leverage, and they're probably getting liquidated on their couple of bucks 75% of the time. But the other 25% of the time that they happen to win, they're sharing a screenshot that shows that they made 1,500%. And then that person that sees that is like, next trade they're calling, I'm going all in, and I'm about to do the same thing. And then boom, that trade doesn't work out. You get liquidated for $5,000, and that dude gets liquidated for $3.75. And it's just like, it's tough, man. When you see that herd mentality and you just see all these people, trusting what other people have to say, and it's like, I get it to an extent. There are a lot of smart people out there that know what they're talking about. But at the same time, I think everybody needs to do their own research on a project, on a trade. Going back to the trade side of things again, if you can't tell me 3 reasons why you enter that trade, don't enter the trade. That should be a trade secret, in my opinion, is, have 3 defined reasons, even if you got that trade from somebody else, even if you got that trade from someone on Twitter, you also need to give 3 reasons as why you're going to buy it on top of them buying it. And then you've got yourself a trade that you can enter. If you can't name 3 reasons, don't buy it.
Yeah. I think, I wanted to touch on some of the things that you just said, like, with Fire, I think his name was Node Baron. This is the guy that was going around giving computers out to homeless people or something. I don't know.
That was crazy times.
But I remember he was like, I'm compounding for life. And a lot of people saw his success and were like, well, if this guy's compounding, I'm compounding. And they didn't even know why they were compounding. And then another example is in the DAOs, I remember Clima, was touted as like this energy, go green, whatever. I don't know. But Mark Cuban invested in it, and people saw that and were immediately like, well, if Mark Cuban is investing in him, he's a billionaire. He's a Shark Tank guy. He only buys the best of projects. But they don't realize that for Mark Cuban, this is probably 1/100,000th of an investment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
And also like, to counter your argument about the, people trading a low dollar figure, it could be someone that is trading $10, $20, $30,000, but $10, $20, $30,000 to them might really kind of feel like $10.
True.
Whereas for like someone like me, I'm like, okay, if I'm trading $10,000 or more on a trade, I'm definitely going to know what my plan is, and I'm going to have some strong feelings about this. I'm not just going to, on a whim, just be like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to follow this random person on the internet with an ape icon.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I think that goes back to, from a trading standpoint, is like identifying the percentages of your trades in percent gains is important, but also understanding the dollar figure side of it, because there could be one person that makes, 10% on a trade. And that 10% could be $10,000 to one person, and it could be $10 to another person.
Yeah.
And it's really all dependent on the dollar figure that is entered into that trade. So I think, when we get to situations like that where, it's really dependent on the person, kind of like you said, is, with a Mark Cuban situation, like someone that entered in and you hear them entering to something in crypto and then all these other people come in, it's like those people may be using 60% of their net worth, whereas, Mark Cuban might be using 1/100,000th of his net worth. So he's like, man, if this doesn't work out,
Yeah.
this is money I wipe my ass with. So it's no big deal. Whereas the other person might be like, I can't afford to buy a house now because I just lost all this money. And it's like, that's where it gets super real for people. And they're like, man, that was a bad decision. Yeah, I fucked up. And so, I think that's where the herd mentality side of things is really something that I think a lot of people have to wrap their brain around, is like everybody is dealing with a different amount of money. And if each person is dealing with a different amount of money and each person values their money differently, some people may value their money significantly in every dollar they need to live. And then someone else may, they might be like, oh, I'll make this back in a week on my personal job or in this crypto project or whatever. And they're just like, whatever. It's, it's almost like fake money basically. And they're just playing around with it. So, you have to, I think a lot of people have to understand that when they're looking and following other people and seeing what other people's moves are making, you have to understand that everybody is in a different situation financially. And you have to take that into account before you, completely follow someone else and what they're doing.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, whales are controlling these markets. And as retail investors, we are the minnows. And all of us minnows are basically feeding the whales. And they are totally 100% taking advantage of the herd mentality. And we see it with some influencers. There's some that I like, and there's a lot that I dislike. I can't stand BitBoy Crypto, this scammer. And, I could go on a whole podcast episode about this guy, but he definitely takes advantage of people. It's insider trading, and those type of whales are using influencers and using social media because they know that 90% of these people are going to buy into the things that they're going to say. And as long as they take their positions beforehand, they can do a pump and dump. And we see it time and time again. And it's not only embarrassing for crypto, but it really freaking sucks because the average crypto user is just an average person. It's just a person that is in DeFi for a reason. They're in DeFi because they probably can't trade traditionally. Maybe they can't get a bank account. Maybe their credit is really shitty and they have to be in DeFi, and they're really trying to make something for themselves. And because they're uneducated, they didn't do their research or yada, yada, yada. They're following these people who appear to be making a lot of money. And in actuality, they're being taken advantage of. And that's just, it's terrible. I hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. I'm going to go a little bit off topic for a second, but I don't know. Have you seen this whole ETHBen situation?
I've been kind of looking into it.
My God, man. If this is not the epitome of this herd mentality that we're talking about right now, I don't know what is. I mean, this is an insane situation. I'm watching this and I'm like, why are people so stupid? Like, it's insane, man. This guy created a coin called Ben and dropped like his address, wallet address, and a shit ton of people sent him money to be able to get into his like PSYOP coin. And then now he made another coin off this PSYOP coin that I guess if you're to any, you dropped the address for. And I saw like someone posted that $8.1 million was sent in Ethereum to this address to get like whitelisted for this third coin that this guy's creating. I'm like, this guy is creating stupid ass meme coins out of thin air, and people are just shoveling money into this. And again, it's herd mentality. People hear about this guy. I mean, this dude, I remember when he created this Ben coin, I looked at his Twitter account and he had like, I don't know, it was like 10 or 15, maybe 20,000 followers. Then I looked the other day and this guy's got like 95,000 followers. And I'm like, it is just insane. This guy's like 9x his Twitter following, and all these people are piling into these coins. They're probably, consistently losing money. It's just a bunch of like meme shitcoin hype bullshit. And like, it's just herd mentality. It's crazy.
Is the Ben coin, I thought it was created by this BitBoy Crypto.
I think some people have linked him to it and said maybe he had something to do with it, but I don't know if it's actually been like substantiated that he has anything to do with it. I think a lot of people have said, I think this BitBoy dude has come out a couple times and like backed this ETHBen dude with what he's doing. And so I think a lot of people are like, wait, is he like part of this or not? Which he might be, he might not be. I don't know. That's a lot of speculation. I don't really know any of the inside details on all this stuff, but again, it's the epitome of herd mentality that someone sees some dude and a lot of people shoveling money into this thing and him promising all these crazy returns and all that stuff, and people are just like, screw it. I don't know this guy. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what these coins have to do with anything, but there's a possibility of me making $1 million in a week from now, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And guess what? Almost all these people, if not all of them, are going to lose money. And then they're going to, again, go back to crypto as a scam, or they're going to, lose a lot of money that they worked hard for and they blew it on just being stupid. And to be honest with you, like, it's a little bit harsh, but it's kind of deserve it a little bit. Like, to be honest, like, if you're going to make a stupid decision like that and just buy into something, it's almost as if, like, think of like, have you ever been to Walmart and like, I don't know, like the people with the Girl Scout cookies or people are sitting out there or someone's selling something outside of the doors of Walmart and you just walk up to them and they just tell you that they're selling something and it's, $10,000 and you're like, I'm in. And then maybe they say like, hey, if you give me 10 grand, I'll give you 50 grand in a month from now. And you're just like, all right, here's $10,000. You don't even listen to what it is, how it works, how you're going to make this money. You don't do any research on it. You don't do research on the person. You don't do research on anything. They just tell you, hey, I'm going to be able to 5x your money if you give it to me right now. And you're just like, all right, here's $10,000. And then you walk into Walmart and then you walk out and they run away and they're not even there anymore. And that's, in my opinion, that's what I equate it to. Is like, if you're gonna be that dumb, like, you kind of deserve getting scammed.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, like this whole podcast can be played in front of Elizabeth Warren and the SEC. There's SEC, and they're basically like, this is exactly what we're saying.
Yeah. It's not necessarily good we're on the government side of things, but, it is what it is in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's the we're all gonna make it, mentality, the WAGMI, and I've seen that in so many projects, I mean, going back to the node projects or DAOs or Time or whatever, Rebases, all of these projects, you get into that Discord or you get into that Telegram and you say one negative thing,
it's game over.
You're not going to make it. Stop fudding your project. And it's like, I'm just asking a logical question here. How's that fudding the project? The reason why people say that is because they know deep down, I think they know deep down that this is not the right move, but they're just so caught up in it.
I don't think they do, man.
You don't think so?
Dude, I think these people are just like all in and they just like believe 100% until they can't believe anymore because they have no more money. Like, I mean, I lived it in my opinion because I was calling out all these node projects being like, this is going to fail, this is going to fail, you're going to fail here, this is why. And dude, I was getting shit on 24/7. Every single day I was just getting constantly shit on and I was just like, I was like, these guys are so stupid. They're about to lose so much money. And like, it's funny because I can't even, I would even engage with these people and be like, hey, these are the reasons why this is not going to work out. And I'll give them logical reasons. And it's just like, doesn't matter. They're so balls deep into it that it's just like, it's all rainbows and butterflies for them until they find out at the end of the road, like, oh shit, that guy was right. I just got screwed.
Yeah. I mean, it's the gambler's mindset, and that kind of goes into the expectations of it all. Is like people have these insane expectations of what is going to happen with the project they're investing in, or what's going to happen with the coin they're trading. I mean, you know this, but I am not. I mean, I don't trade. I don't hold Bitcoin, other than French toast, of course. But I'm not investing in Bitcoin because I don't like trading currencies in that manner. And it's like, to me, Bitcoin 100K, I don't see that. I don't have, as you pointed out, 3 reasons. I don't have 3 reasons for that. When I see Ethereum, I see a lot of real use case. And if corporations were to come into crypto and actually get on the blockchain, I could see Ethereum being a huge player. Bitcoin, to me, the only argument is it's because it was the first. And in this, but you see the same thing is like people will buy into Bitcoin thinking like, okay, the same thing is going to happen now as what happened 10 years ago when, Bitcoin saw this, exponential growth and made so many people, multimillionaires over a small period of time. And I just don't think that people really understand what it's going to take. And to translate that into the stock world, whenever we would see FANG, and these companies hit these $1 trillion, market caps. And we just saw it with NVIDIA recently. Mm-hmm. And I've seen people be like, they're going to 2 trillion right away. And it's like, do you know what that means? Like, they got to make another $1 trillion. And when people are like, oh, stock's going to double from here, I'm like, no, it's not. Like, what are you talking about? They don't understand
market cap.
Yeah, they just don't get it. And fundamentally, it does not make sense. All of these tokens and to be fair, of the stock market, it's all trading so far beyond its, PE, it's insane. And I just think, like, especially in the crypto world, a lot of people are just buying off of that hopium, and they expect the same results that people got in the past.
Yeah. I mean, 2 things there that I wanted to address. One was, so like with Bitcoin, so I'm curious how you don't understand or like think that it's going to go up. In my opinion, it's almost, first off, I mean, it drives crypto, and I don't see how that's going to get overtaken anytime soon. Secondly, it's almost, in my opinion, almost like an S&P 500 situation where it's like, if everything else around it goes up, it's going to go up. So I'm like, I don't see a scenario in which like Ethereum is going to go to like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5K, and then Bitcoin's not going to be like 70K plus. Like, I don't envision how that would even happen.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but maybe eventually Bitcoin will get to those levels. But when I see people say stuff like Bitcoin to 100K by end of summer, or by,
that's not happening.
I think we just left Consensus. There was a bet placed at Consensus, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember exactly the details about it. But it was 2 big players showed up, and I think it was like, I don't know, it was a good bit of money. I want to say it was like $500,000. I could be totally making this.
This was at Consensus?
Yeah, they did.
I did not see that.
They did an interview, and one person was like, Bitcoin was going to be, I think it was going to reach all-time highs by the end of May. And obviously, that shit did not happen.
That's crazy.
So, but it's that, and I'm probably blowing that out. I'll have to do some more research on that. But I will say, like, there's so many people that I see that say stuff like that, and I guess what I mean is, like, they're not seeing the overall picture. Like, yeah, I don't want to say that Bitcoin is not going to be 100K eventually. I don't get it, man. I mean, I guess as more countries come on and start accepting that as payments, yes, but the countries that are currently accepting it, these are countries where their currency was super fucking inflated. And it's like, they really had no other option.
Yeah, but you can't really inflate Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, I was talking about like, I mean, for example, Venezuela, their dollar, it's like you would need like $1 trillion to buy like a roll of toilet paper or something. Yeah. And I mean, Bitcoin is the answer in that sense, but we are never going to see, well, I don't want to say never, but I feel pretty confident that we're not going to see, first world countries accepting Bitcoin in the manner that these third world countries are accepting it. So I think eventually, especially as a dollar becomes digital or the yen becomes digital and these countries push that, that hurts Bitcoin far more than it ever would hurt Ethereum. So if these countries bring their currencies on chain, I think that gives an argument that Ethereum could surpass market cap wise Bitcoin eventually. I mean, even that is a reach. I've seen people say Ethereum's going to hit, 50K and it's like, what?
No chance.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think with Ethereum is it does act as the S&P 500 in a way where it's like, it's slow and steady. And I think maybe Bitcoin possibly could be that as well, slow and steady long term. But I don't know, man. There's just so much, in my opinion, there's a lot of hurdles and there's a lot of things that could overturn Bitcoin versus Ethereum.
Yeah. I mean, I still think that, from my opinion, I still think that, obviously Bitcoin is a leader in terms of crypto, and I don't really see how that gets overtaken anytime. I mean, I don't know what your time frame is, but I'm thinking like next 3 to 5 years. I don't really see how that gets overtaken by Ethereum or any other coin. And I think, because even if the market overall goes up and some other coin comes in, whether that's Ethereum or something else that's a big player and becomes like the main coins of crypto, I don't see how that's bad news for Bitcoin, where Bitcoin doesn't continue to go up. So in my opinion, I just don't really see how that gets overtaken. So I just assume like when we get back into bullish periods and markets start rising and all coins go up and ETH goes up, Bitcoin is just naturally going to ride up with it. And so I don't necessarily think I see some people calling for like, $1 million Bitcoin per coin or something like that down the road. I don't really see that, but I could see like 70 to 100K range in the next few years. I think that's definitely attainable. Just because I think it almost acts as like the total crypto market in a way, whereas as everything else is going up, that's just naturally going to ride up with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue. People, everything follows Bitcoin right now.
Right.
And there has to be a divergence somewhere, but I might not be the best person to talk about Bitcoin either, because I was pitched Bitcoin a long time ago. I was at a party and someone ordered Papa John's pizza and he's like, I paid with Bitcoin. And I was present at this event and I just was thinking, I was like, what the fuck is Bitcoin? And I was like, I remember when we were, trading options, and I remember, what was it? Bitcoin went under 10 or it went to like 4.
No, it was like 3.5.
Yeah. And we were just like, who the fuck's buying into this? God, if I could go back in time and put all my money in that, of course I would have, but I would be a huge believer. And I think this goes back to that herd mentality point where it's like the people defending Bitcoin the most are probably the ones that are heavily invested in it. And they want to see those high returns. I mean, like, some of these countries, for example, El Salvador, they bought Bitcoin essentially at its peak. They were like, all right, we are adopting Bitcoin. Like within a month, that thing just started tanking. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's super scary.
I mean, I know a couple of it was a year and a half, 2 years ago now, but I mean, I know there was a handful of NFL players like Odell Beckham Jr. He opted to get his contract paid in Bitcoin. Which,
what?
Yeah, dude. At the time, I was like, okay, this is a pretty fucking good idea. But I'm pretty sure his contract was like $23 million for the year, and by the end of that season, he was basically cut in half, because that was around the time that Bitcoin went from like 70K down to like 35K, and it's like, all right, well, you just lost half your salary by doing that. Which, I'm not gonna lie, man, especially like in the last year or so, if I took a salary in Bitcoin, I would do that shit. Like, if just like, let's just say every company in the United States was like, hey, you have the option of taking your salary in Bitcoin or taking your salary in USD. Right now, I think I'd probably take it in Bitcoin.
I mean, what I hear right there is you're preparing your asshole to be raped by the Uncle Sam's taxes.
Well, I mean, that's not factoring in a 40%
Like,
freaking.
Jesus,
This is of all things are level. Like, if you pay the same taxes and paid the same everything and everything was all the same, would you take USD over Bitcoin right now in a bi-weekly paycheck? I would.
That's a good argument.
Bitcoin.
If everything is the same, you kind of got me there. I mean, especially with inflation right now, and the dollar does. I mean, we're losing strength. So, yeah, and that has always been the biggest argument. But to me, I just think.
So hold on a second. So I just want to make sure I understand this.
Don't you turn this on me.
So essentially, what you're saying is you're shitting on Bitcoin. On one hand, but on the other hand, you're saying you would accept Bitcoin as a salary over the US dollar. So that means you're like super shitting on the US dollar, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're in troubled times right now. I mean,
For sure.
Especially with, our debt ceiling and all of that. And with the US, I mean, our debt is going up astronomically, and I think a good way for the U.S. government to erase all of that is to magically create this digital dollar. Not even, let's ignoring the fact that we're pretty much already digital. Like, I don't even carry cash.
Right.
So we're numbers on a screen already. So the fact that they get to a digital dollar, it's like, okay, maybe that holds some weight and it gets rid of the old dollar. So the current dollar that we have right now, it's hard to argue that that is at its strong point. It's pretty weak right now.
Right.
And I think Bitcoin, yes, if you think long term, I'm thinking Bitcoin as in this manner, I'm thinking of it as a stock. It is going to increase in value. I'm not arguing that it won't increase in value. I don't think the US dollar is going to increase in value. I mean, it's not going to go, obviously it's not going to go more than $1.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's pretty obvious.
So would I take it? But yeah, I mean, I think I would, but I don't know, man. I would be scared because there's a lot of factors here. I'm like, what if the next day, this is in El Salvador? I mean, I could be a catalyst. Like, okay, Mike's in on this. We're going to zero. And then I've just screwed myself.
You're immediately homeless.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know. It would be cool if ultimately, it's kind of getting off topic, but like, it would be cool if ultimately they like I mean, I guess this would probably like screw over a lot of people, but it would be legit if like every company in the US gave everybody an option to choose how they are paid, and you could choose any asset, crypto, stocks, whatever it would be. Do you have an asset that you would be like, if a company was like, you work for a company, I don't know, you work for Home Depot, and they were like, you know what, tell us what asset you want to be paid in, we'll pay you in it. And you could obviously choose USD, but like, do you have an idea of like what you would choose?
I mean, during COVID, I would have been like, give me lumber.
Well, yeah. Let's just say like, I mean, obviously afterwards you could just be like, oh yeah, like I could just sit here and be like, hey, in 2009, give me Bitcoin.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But like right now, as of today's date, do you have a specific stock, crypto, Forex, any asset, gold that you would just be like, you know what? I'd rather get paid in this than USD.
I mean, it kind of comes back to the adoption of it. If everybody accepts everything, then I'm not worried about it, and if everything is taxed equally, as it stands right now, I'm not taking anything but the dollar because I want to make sure that, because I would be taxed the least on that. I mean, think about it. If I'm paid in stocks, I'm going to have to sell those stocks. I'm going to have to pay for my mortgage, my car payment, or, my kids and my groceries, all of that.
Okay, well, let's scratch the tax then, because you're not getting, you are getting taxed on the US dollar, right?
Yeah, I'm getting taxed on the US dollar, but I'm not getting capital gains tax on top of that.
Well, let's just say it's one or the other.
Like I either take capital gains or regular tax.
Okay, let's just change the playing field altogether. Let's just say you get a 20% tax on anything, It's the same tax across any asset, whether it's crypto, stocks, USD, anything is 20% tax on your paycheck.
But can I go to the grocery store and pay for my groceries?
Yeah.
Like, here's an AMD share.
Yeah. What would you if you were getting paid in an asset, if you every 2 weeks you made $3,000 from your company, how would you want that $3,000 to be sent to you?
Yeah, I mean, if I could spend it, I'm going
one asset.
I'm going S&P.
Diversification.
I'm going S&P 500.
Damn.
Because
ultra safe.
That is, yes, ultra safe, but it's going to have, I mean, it's proven itself over, I mean, almost 100 years to increase, on average 7 to 12%. And then during the bearish times, I'm going to be feeling that, but my dollar is never going to increase. So immediately I'm removing my dollar. Like if I can pay in shares, if I can go to my grocery store, I give them a share and maybe they pay me the difference in $1, then I mean, for sure, I would be taking S&P hands down, because then I could sell that, trade it, get crypto, whatever. I'm not going to take crypto because it's way too volatile. My grocery bill, let's just say it's $100 a week. With crypto, that $100 a week might be $200 next week for my bill because crypto just cut itself in half. Like, could you imagine if you were getting that on I don't know, Atom or something?
No, hell no.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I couldn't sleep at night.
Yeah. Dude, if I were to get paid in any asset, I'd probably go sheep.
What?
I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't go sheep. That would not.
You're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
5 reasons.
Especially if I went to sheep, if I did this a year and a half ago, and I was like, you know what, I'm taking a $3,000 paycheck bi-weekly in sheep, I'd be poor as hell. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's an interesting proposition, and I think
I like the freedom of it.
It would be cool, but so many people would be poor. It would crush the economy if that. It would be a very cool opportunity to get paid in whatever asset you want to get paid in. And then, I mean, the smart people would make money, but the dumb people would get, they would risk it all on, they'd risk it on Pepe. They'd probably be like, dude, I heard about this meme coin going forward. I want my paychecks in Pepe. Yeah. And then, next thing you know, the next 4 to 8, 12 weeks, you're getting paid $0 basically because your, investment's getting drained out the ass. But
yeah,
I don't know what I would do. I think I'd want to be because I'm younger, I would want to be a little bit more risky than S&P 500, but not that much more risky. I might go a QQQ, or I might even go in I know they've got a few of those now. I don't even remember what they're exactly called, but they're crypto ETFs where it encompasses mainly, Ethereum and Bitcoin, but then it's got a few other things. Maybe in a Vanguard fund, something that just is a little bit better than the S&P 500 historically, but it's also a little bit riskier in the fact that you have the potential of losing a little bit more. I'd like to kind of risk it for the biscuit a little bit more than play it super safe with S&P.
It would be interesting if we could have had this conversation with, say, a John Vogel, the guy who basically created, these Vanguard funds, essentially, someone who was trying to provide safe ways for average people to make money. Warren Buffett is a great example. Charlie Munger, they hate crypto. Yeah. And I get it. I understand from their perspective, but they are, they are old school traditional mindset. They're never going to understand it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Taking money and something that just fluctuates so heavily, that's scary.
Dude, you got to think though. It's it's long term. Let's just say you've had a job for 10 years. Dude, if you had a job for 10 years and that whole 10-year period, you were taking your payouts in S&P.
Oh yeah.
You'd be freaking killing it.
I'd be extremely wealthy. I'd probably be retired.
Probably would be. So like that's where I'm like, in my opinion, it would be good. And obviously, if I had my money in Sheeb, I would have retired like 10 years ago too. But like, or I probably would have retired in 1 year of paychecks. Would have retired me 3 or 4 years ago. But like seriously though, like if I was in QQQ or a Vanguard fund or something like that, same boat. So it's like, again, it kind of goes back to tying all this back in. Really, is a long term mindset is the winner in all of this. If if you're short term and you're like, man, I got to make all this in 1 year, it's never going to happen. But if you have a situation like a scenario we just talked about, and you're looking at it 10 years from now, you'd be sitting pretty wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of went off topic a little bit,
way off the rails on this one.
The last one was ideas over teams, and I feel like this was an idea, and I mean, it's a pretty solid idea. I never really thought about it from that perspective, but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people invest in. They see these neat ideas and they're like, oh, this is going to change the entire world. And they put their money in this, project, technology, whatever, not thinking of the people running that project, technology, idea, whatever, and not realizing that these people have no business experience. They don't know who they are. Most of them are undoxed. They're just, they could be bots for all that we know. It could be one person and 20 bots. This could be their team. And that one person's mindset of going into this could be like, I'm fully going to rug this entire project. I know when we went to Consensus the first time, or we went to some of the after parties at Consensus the first time, we were pitched a lot of ideas. Some were cool, but, as you talk to these people, you quickly found out like, wait a second, this is just a really cool idea. This guy is an idiot.
Yeah, I know. Even just in general, there were a couple of projects that were pitching stuff to us, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to do it, but I'm sitting here like, we could run this way better than this guy.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And this is the part where it's hard, in my opinion, for the average person. Like, we do have a little bit of a benefit in the fact that, one, we've run a few businesses in the past, so we know what to look for and what not to look for and what's good, what's bad. The other benefit that we have is, especially for myself, is I have, somewhat of a following, so I've been able to not necessarily get inside information, but I've had a little bit more access than the average person would to a team or a project, or the ability to go to these events where I can see and talk to people face to face and stuff like that, and spot things that are like, okay, this guy's an idiot, this guy's a genius, stuff like that. But I think this is one of the hardest areas for the average Joe to understand, because it's like, if they believe in the idea, it's really kind of hard for them sometimes to really understand whether they believe in the team or not, and really be able to see that through without investing already into it. You're kind of like, you're investing into it in hopes that the idea ends up becoming what you think it's going to become, but then the team doesn't execute on it, and then next thing you know, you got a failed project, which this also happens in the real world pretty often outside of crypto, where a business or something like that comes in with a great idea or a great new product or whatever it may be, and you're super excited about the product, and then the team doesn't execute on it, and then it ends up not being a thing. I think a really good example of this, in my opinion, is like a Kickstarter. You go to a Kickstarter and you see a project or an idea. There's been a handful of those where I've been like, yo, this product is bad ass, and I want to invest in it. And sometimes I've even backed certain projects on Kickstarter, and they never saw the light of day. So, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of tough. I got a really good example, actually, somewhat recently. Found this cool project. I actually don't even know if they ever ended up coming out with it. I don't think they did, but it's actually from my dad. It was a bird feeder that had a camera on it, and the camera would take a picture of the bird on the bird feeder, and then it would send it to an app on the phone, and it would identify what type of bird it is, and like a detailed history of what the bird is like and what kind of food it likes to eat and all kinds of other stuff. And then you could feed that into the bird feeder, and it had like a solar panel at the top, so it powered from the natural light. Super cool idea. And I was like, it's pretty legit. And my dad, as I feel like as people get older, for some reason they want to watch birds, and that's not my thing, but my dad enjoys sitting on the patio and looking at birds. So I was like, man, this is a cool idea. I'm going to get this for his birthday. And then, dude, I think it's been 2 years now, and this thing is still in Kickstarter mode or whatever. Like, it hasn't actually released as a full product yet. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a scam. I don't know if it's actually ever going to release, whatever. So stuff like that is like, the product and the idea is actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
But for it to have been 2 to 3 years now and this thing has not released, in my opinion, that's poor execution on the team. Not something I actually would want to buy. Like, if it ever actually comes to market, I don't know if I'd actually buy it, because I'm like, what took you this long to execute on this idea? And there could be varying factors. But again, I think this is the toughest area for the average person to get correct, because you really have to do some heavy due diligence to feel comfortable in the idea and the team at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's all emotion based, and people follow their emotions. I mean, we're basically idea men. We come up with idea. There are times where you're literally like, Mike, do not feed me another idea. And I'm like, all right, I'm telling you no. But then boom, another
30
idea.
seconds later,
another idea comes.
I get an elevator pitch like I'm on Shark Tank.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like we could, this goes back to the previous episode when we were talking about how we could have easily created a node project knowing that it was irresponsible, knowing that, okay, maybe, just maybe we could have done this better. Ultimately, we would have never been able to have succeeded in a
we would have failed.
Ponzi-nomics.
Yeah, we would have failed for sure.
Would have failed, but we probably could have sold it, and we probably could have made a ton of money, because
we would have made a ton of money, yeah, for sure.
It circles back in all 5 of these reasons, because people see an influencer who has sat here and called out all of these projects. Now he creates his own project, and that project, people are like, well, I'm so bullish on this guy, even though that really no one truly knows who you are. They don't really know what we are doing or what we're trading, what our net worth is like, or what our discipline is like. So they just automatically kind of get into that herd mentality. They don't want to, have that FOMO. And we create a project. We could have created a node, and we could have stolen everybody's money, and no one would have ever even known. So
yeah,
it is wild, but. Yeah, so we broke down the 5 reasons right now why you're not going to make it. I know next episode we want to talk about the 5 reasons you can make it.
True.
And I'm excited about that, but we still have one more topic for this podcast, and it's really, it was based off of a question of our subscriber.
Shout out JJ Wheeler.
Yeah. So he really wanted us to talk about, like, how can you cut a strategy? And as I was thinking about this, I wanted to break down kind of the journey of a person subscribing to the strategy, like from the point of like, okay, I'm actively searching for this, what do I do to get into it? While I'm actively trading it, like, things maybe start to go sour. How do I cut it? So, as people are diving into bots and looking at strategies, I think it's really important that you ask a lot of questions. You need to know, first off, does the team or the strategist, do they even know trading? Because I know you and I, we have seen other strategists who clearly do not understand trading at all.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing for us. It's embarrassing for them. It's embarrassing for the entire bot trading community. But as a user, it's a very important question to ask. Like, you need to know, does this person understand what they're doing? And then it's also important to know, like, dive into their ecosystem. If they have their own Discord, go back into the chat, see what people are saying. Like, are they saying things that are negative, or is it positive? Is it only positive? Because that could be bad as well. Like, you want to figure out, like, how much of this is actually accurate, and you need to make sure that they are sharing their trade logs. Are these trade logs transparent? Do they match what people are getting them results? I know just in our ecosystem alone, when people post their screenshots and it's wildly off, immediately you and I are like, or actually some of our veteran people are, the first questions are like, are you manually trading this? Are you upping your leverage? Did you change your amount? And 9 times out of 10, people are like, oh yeah,
exactly.
I did.
Most of the time.
So I think it's important to know, like, if you do see, people with inconsistencies, like, is it a lot of inconsistencies or is it one-offs? And if it's one-offs, it's just good to ask those questions, ask those people, did you did you manually intervene in it? But once you've decided, like, okay, I'm going to buy into this strategy and you're actively trading it, I think at that point, you have to give it, at least 90 days.
3 months minimum.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that come in. Obviously, we talked about this last time, bot hopping. They come in for 30 days and they expect the world. We know that's not going to happen.
Yep.
It's frustrating.
Or they're paying like $85 a month subscription to trade $85. And it's like, you're not going to make 100%. I can't guarantee anything, but I can all but guarantee you're not going to 100% a bot in 1 month.
Yeah.
So you're already going to be at a net negative for the month if you're trading $85 and you're paying $85 in a monthly subscription.
And sadly, because we are strategists, those people have a loud voice. Those seem to be, and in my mind, I think of those individuals as like those are the younger individuals. Those are the people that might actually just be in college, and their job is just to be a student. So they have all this free time to watch the bots, and then they talk about it a lot. And people are basing their opinion of this strategist or bot off of those individuals who are the loudest, but really the people that are making the most amount of money probably never say anything.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume most of our subscriber base right now, I'd probably say about 80% of our subscriber base is silent in the background, and they're just, they're understanding that this is a long-term investment, and they don't really, get caught up in the day-to-day, and they don't really say anything. And that's most of our subscriber base, which I kind of like it that way, in my opinion. Like, it's nicer to have the group of people that have that mentality and have that longer term mindset, and those ones are going to be the ones that are going to ultimately win in the long run. But it can be frustrating sometimes when you get those, the people that, have the short term mindset and have the smallest bank accounts making the most noise, good or bad, but it's just kind of part of the business.
Yeah. So let's say you've traded this bot for 90 days and things just are not looking great. I think it's important at that point to figure out, like, does the strategist have a plan? Like, are they making updates? Are they saying anything about it? When you ask them questions like, hey, why is this, not reflecting the previous results? Like, it could be many things. One, it could be that the strategy is just not tuned in to the market. I mean, we've seen that ourselves. And obviously, like, we've made those updates to cater to that. A prime example with Cinnamon Toast, when it saw its worst performing period in February, we were pretty quick to figure out, like, okay, we got to make some changes. This isn't something that you can just sit on for life. Like,
right.
We created it and it's good forever. No, it has to be, changed. It has to be updated. But there's a caveat to that. You can't just be updating it all the time.
Yeah, if you're updating all the time, you're just overfitting out the ass, and your strategy is going to perform like shit.
Yeah, and one thing that I know we say, especially for Cinnamon Toast, it is designed for 80% of the market. We created it for that because we know 80% of the time the market is going to perform in a certain way, and the bot is designed for that. The other 20%, it's not going to perform very well.
Just the way it is.
Yeah. There's never going to be a bot that performs absolute killer 100% of the time, because if there was, it probably wouldn't be on the market.
Yeah.
I for sure wouldn't release it. I would definitely be trading that highly leveraged with my mortgage.
Yeah, exactly.
With my S&P stocks.
Yeah, S&P stock. I mean, I think you make a good point with the, I think your biggest point, in my opinion, is asking questions. I think that's the biggest thing that I don't see some of these people do, is especially once you've gotten to 90 days. Once you're 90 days into a strategy, and if it's not performing, you need to ask a lot of questions, and then you need to decide personally if you are comfortable with the answers you got or not. If you're not comfortable with the answers you got, in my opinion, you cut the strategy. If you are comfortable with the answers you got, then you give it another 30, 60 days and evaluate where things lie at that point in time. But, I'm thinking, in my opinion, the biggest example that we have is Cinnamon Toast. February, it had a its worst month that it's ever had. And it was a pretty hefty drawdown, to be honest, in the month. I think most people were down somewhere between 25 and 30% that were on 5X leverage. And those that were not on 5X leverage, they were down somewhere between 7, 6, 8%, somewhere in that range, which was a pretty big drawdown for Cinnamon Toast. We'd never seen it draw down that much. First off, we made some updates very quickly in early March. We added our custom volatility index, which has been very good performance-wise over the last several months. It's cut down the number of trades that Cinnamon Toast takes, but the trades that it does take has been, very accurate in those trades. But since it had such a drawdown in February, it took most of March or all of March really, and into April to recoup that, which honestly is impressive in and of itself. Because you got to think, if you're down, on something that's 5X, if you're down 30 or 40%, you really need like 60 or 70 or 80% returns to get yourself back to break even. So it had a really good, late March, early April, and was able to recoup all of that. And then since then, it's had some progressive wins since then. So, realistically, anybody that's been subscribed since February should be up on their strategy. However, over that 90-day period, you might barely be up, or you might be up a small amount, and people might, and especially those that aren't trading with a large amount of money, they might be like, well, it's I'm up, but I haven't covered my fees or something like that. And so in those situations, those are the people that you may want to ask questions and be like, hey, why you guys always say, you got to give the bot 90 days. I've given the bot 90 days and now I'm, break even or only up a couple bucks or whatever, like what's up? And then in those situations, we can say like, hey, look, we had a very unusual February. In that situation, we had a large amount to overcome and we've overcome that, but it took a while. We did this update to, the custom volatility index. Since then, this has been the performance, and then you can decide at that point, are you comfortable with that response, and are you comfortable with continuing on at that point or not? And other strategists may not be able to give you as detailed or as informational of a response. They may not be keeping up with the markets enough. They may be keeping up with the markets too much. But in my opinion, I think a lot of it is data driven and question driven. I don't see enough customers, I guess, asking questions when the time comes. In my opinion, you have to at least give it 90 days. But once that 90 days have hit, if you're down or not up where you think you should be or whatever, your logs or what your performance looks like doesn't really match what they're saying, that's when you start needing to be a little bit vocal and asking those questions. And then at that point, once you get the answers back, you make your own decisions on like, I'm happy with that answer. That seems educated. That makes sense to me logically. I'm comfortable with it. I feel good about the team. Or you say, that doesn't make sense, doesn't add up, don't like the response, and then, you move on to something else.
Yeah, I mean, I would much prefer people to ask us questions than just immediately dip. And I mean,
agreed.
We've seen it time and time again where things outside of our hands have caused people to lose money, whether it's missed signals. KuCoin is a pretty good example. And it's like,
it's been quite a bit better lately. I think I've seen one person have one missed signal on KuCoin in the last few months, but in the past it was much worse than that.
For sure. And I mean, it while it sucks, it's like you can't fault the strategist or the strategy for that, but they do. They or they add in money. They take a couple of wins, with a small account. And they're like, all right, this thing is proven. They add a ton of money, and then they, take 2 or 3 losses, and they're like, I'm out of here. And they just don't give it enough time. But I think if you've given it 90 days and the answers that you're getting, or maybe you're not getting the answers, aren't up to par, you got to treat it like a stock and think of it as fundamentals and not technicals, right? But like fundamentally, does this make sense? If the CEO of a company, can't answer your questions or provide an answer. I mean, even if the answer is like, that's a great question. Let me do a little research and I'll get back to you. If they're not providing an answer to you, I would bail at that point.
Yeah, that's a massive vote of no confidence for me. If I'm not getting any answers at all, or I'm not getting the answers that I feel like is, suffice for my situation, I would also bail in that scenario. I mean, I think bot trading is a little bit of a slippery slope in the fact that the user doesn't really get to see what's going on behind the scenes.
Sure.
So that's why I think asking those questions and then getting detailed responses back is important. And that's why I feel like we try and be as detailed as possible with our responses to questions and the data that we share and everything that we do, because I also understand on the other side of it, they're somewhat left in the dark, and it's kind of required in a way. We can't just like give out our code and give out our strategy and show everything that's happening. So there's a little bit of that just has to be the way it is, kind of the secret sauce of what we do. But I understand that. And so one of my big things is trying to be as transparent as possible, trying to be as detailed as possible, trying to give as much information as I can without giving away what we're doing, so that the average user, feels confident and comfortable in what we're offering to them and why things are the way that they are, and good or bad, why, and what we're doing behind the scenes to make things better, or whatnot, and just kind of keep everybody updated on that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen other strategists as well get a little bit frustrated by questions, but and my message to them would be like, money makes people emotional, and when you're losing people's money, they're going to be emotional. So prepare yourself for these questions and think about it. When your bots are losing, think about these questions in advance. I know we have thought of these questions ourselves, at least I have. I've got questions written down, and I'm surprised some of these questions have never even been asked. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It kind of goes back to everything that we talked about, where these people really aren't doing their research. And a lot of times I felt like, I don't want to say we overshared, but we gave so much information that people probably weren't even thinking about. And I know a prime example of that is when we started diving into the data analytics side of things and realized like, Sundays really aren't that great of a day to trade on. And I know we took some heat for that. People were like, oh, you're just eliminating, 4 to 5 days a month that we're not going to take trades. Like, that's messed up. And what they're thinking of it is like, we're missing trading opportunities. They're not understanding that we're doing this for their benefit. Like, our success is their success. We're not trying to do something to hurt them. Everything that we do for the bot obviously is designed so that they make more money, because the more money that our users make and the more profitability that they see, the more they're going to be singing our praises, and that other people are going to be, coming into our ecosystem.
Yeah. Their profits are our profits at the end of the day.
Exactly. I want to make everybody life-changing money, and I want to make it in 24 hours with no discipline, no patience. I want the whole entire herd to just follow through. And you know what?
That's peak crypto right there, man.
We're going to do it. We're going to make it. Wagmai. We're going to the moon.
Wagmai, man. It's the best way to do it, man. It's the only way.
Yeah. That was a great way to end this episode, too.
Yeah. Good way to wrap it up.
Yeah. Again, if you'd like to, follow us on the socials at Baking Profits, at Bread Bites, at BreadMaker, at DeFiDoughnut. And again, you can pick up a bottle of... Actually, you know what?
Actually, don't pick up that one. No. Pick up one of the other ones. We've had, Jefferson's, Hirsch, Oak and Eden...
And 101 Austin.
101 Austin. That was a good one. The Texas Stone, it was just called TX, I guess. I don't know what that one is, but just about every other one we've had so far is better than this one. So maybe don't pick up that bottle.
Yeah. Take it easy, everybody.
Catch you on the next one.
Good luck.
Later.